Welcome to US Coins World. What if I told you that some of the rarest and most valuable US coins might be hiding right under your nose? Today, we're uncovering incredible treasures, coins so rare, they could make you a fortune overnight. Ready to discover hidden history and cash in on some amazing finds? Let's dive in. Top 1 today, we are going to explore one of the most exciting modern coins in American numismatics, the 2021 Washington Quarter Dollar, known for its breathtaking, crossing the Delaware, design. You might think that modern coins don't have much value yet, but trust me, this story is going to surprise you. By the time we reach the end of this journey, you will see why some of these coins are selling for a life-changing amount of money. So sit back, listen closely, and enjoy every detail, because you might just discover that a fortune is hiding in your pocket change. Let's start with a bit of history. The Crossing the Delaware quarter was released in 2021, right after the conclusion of the long-running America the Beautiful quarter series. Instead of jumping straight to a new design, the U.S. Mint decided to give collectors and the public a stunning transitional issue, a design that brought history to life on a small piece of metal. The image commemorates one of the most famous events of the American Revolutionary War, General George Washington leading his troops across the icy Delaware River on the night of December 25, 1776. This daring maneuver set the stage for a pivotal victory in the Battle of Trenton. The coin captures this moment with incredible detail, Washington standing tall at the front of the boat, the icy river beneath him, and determination etched on his face. On the obverse, the coin carries the familiar portrait of George Washington, but not just any version. It's a modified design by John Flanagan, which has graced U.S. quarters since 1932. The reverse, however, is where this coin truly comes alive. The artistry is exceptional, and for history lovers, it's a miniature masterpiece that blends patriotism with fine craftsmanship. But let's talk about what really makes this coin special to collectors: rarity and condition. Even though the 2021 Crossing the Delaware quarters were struck in large numbers for circulation, not all coins are created equal. The value of a coin is driven by three key factors: scarcity, grade, and demand. A coin that's been heavily circulated and has scratches, dings, or discoloration is worth little more than face value. But a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one that's been graded by a top grading service as MS67, MS68, or higher, can command huge prices. That's because high-grade coins are incredibly hard to find in circulation. Imagine all the handling, bag marks, and machine contact that happens before a coin even reaches your hands. Only a few survive in flawless shape. Now, here's where things get even more exciting: errors. The 2021 Washington Quarter Crossing the Delaware has been found with a variety of minting errors that make them incredibly valuable. Some of the most sought after include double die obverse errors, where parts of the lettering or Washington's portrait appear doubled, off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably misaligned, die cracks, which show raised lines caused by damage to the coin's die, and strike-through errors, where foreign material got between the die and the blank during minting, leaving a unique imprint. Each of these errors turns a common coin into a one-of-a-kind treasure. Collectors are particularly drawn to coins that combine both rarity of condition and striking errors. Imagine finding a flawless, uncirculated coin that also has a dramatic double die error. That's the kind of combination that sends auction prices skyrocketing. And because this design was only used for a short time before being replaced, the supply of such perfect error coins is naturally limited. What also makes the 2021 Crossing the Delaware quarter appealing is that it connects emotionally with collectors. It's not just a piece of currency, it's a tribute to a defining moment in America's fight for independence. For patriotic collectors, history buffs, and lovers of fine design, this coin ticks every box. That emotional appeal fuels demand, and when demand meets limited supply, prices climb. Now imagine this: you're going through your change, maybe after a grocery trip or while rolling coins at home, and you spot that bold image of Washington standing in the boat. You look closer, the details are crisp, the luster is bright, maybe you even notice something unusual about the lettering or strike. In that moment, you could be holding something worth far more than 25 cents, and that brings us to the moment you've been waiting for, the kind of number that turns a casual collector into a passionate treasure hunter. If you happen to own a 2021 Washington quarter crossing the Delaware in exceptional, high-grade, uncirculated condition, especially with a dramatic mint error, it could be worth as much as $87,000. Yes, you heard that right, $87,000 for a coin you could easily mistake for pocket change. So check your coins carefully, store your best finds safely, and never underestimate the hidden value of modern coinage. Because history, art, and fortune sometimes meet in the palm of your hand. Top 2. We're stepping back into one of the most historic and celebrated designs in United States coinage, the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter dollar, also known as the bicentennial quarter. This coin is more than just change in your pocket, it's a piece of America's story, minted to commemorate 2 centuries of independence. But here's the part that makes today's video truly exciting: some of these quarters are worth an absolutely jaw-dropping amount of money. I'm going to share with you why certain examples are so rare, what errors to look for, and how one of these coins can fetch a fortune. Listen very carefully and enjoy the journey, because by the time we get to the end, you might be checking your coin jars with a whole new level of excitement. Let's start with a little history. In 1976, the United States celebrated its 200th anniversary, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. To mark the occasion, the U.S. Mint released special designs on the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. For the quarter, the traditional reverse with the eagle was replaced by a stunning image of a colonial drummer, designed by Jack L. Ahr, with a victory torch encircled by 13 stars, one for each original colony. Above it, you'll see the words United States of America and quarter dollar. On the obverse, George Washington's portrait remains, but with the date 1776 to 1976 proudly displayed under his chin, marking this as a bicentennial coin. These coins were produced in large numbers for circulation, but they were also struck in special collector versions. Some were made of copper-nickel clad, just like normal quarters, while others were struck in 40% silver for collector sets sold by the mint. The silver versions already have an added layer of desirability, but the real treasures are found among the rare minting errors and pristine high-grade examples. Here's where things get fascinating. Even though millions of these coins were minted, finding one in perfect, uncirculated condition after nearly 50 years is no easy task. Coins in circulation pick up scratches, nicks, and dulling from daily use. But a coin that has survived untouched, perhaps stored in a protective case since the day it was minted, can grade extremely high, MS67, MS68, or even higher, and that's where the serious money comes in. High-grade coins are rare because the minting process itself leaves small imperfections, and time only adds more wear. Now let's talk about the minting errors, because that's where values can explode. Some 1776 to 1976 quarters have been found with doubled dies, where parts of the design, such as the lettering or drummer's details, appear doubled under magnification. Others have off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side. There are also die cracks, which create raised lines on the coin's surface, and strike-through errors, where debris or other material got between the die and planchet during striking, leaving a unique imprint. Each of these errors makes the coin more unique, and the more dramatic the error, the higher the potential value. Collectors go wild for combinations of rarity. Imagine a 40% silver bicentennial quarter in flawless, uncirculated condition that also has a dramatic minting error. That's the kind of piece that can command astronomical prices at auction. And because these coins were made only for a short period, from 1975 to 1976, the supply of such extraordinary examples is inherently limited. It's also important to note the emotional and historical appeal. The bicentennial celebration was a moment of national pride, and owning one of these coins is like holding a piece of that celebration in your hand. Many people collected them at the time as souvenirs, tucking them away in drawers or albums. But only a fraction of those have survived in truly investment-grade condition. Picture this: you're sorting through an old coin jar in the attic, and you see that drummer boy reverse. You pick it up, turn it in the light, and realize the luster is still brilliant, the details sharp, and maybe there's even something unusual in the strike. In that moment, you could be holding a coin worth far more than you ever imagined, and now for the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to own a 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter dollar in exceptional, uncirculated, high-grade condition, especially with a rare and dramatic mint error, it could be worth as much as $85,000, yes, $85,000 for a single quarter. So check your change, search those coin jars, and never overlook a bicentennial quarter again, because one small coin could change your life. Top 3. We're going to dive into the fascinating story of a coin that many people overlook, the 1965 United States Washington quarter dollar. You might think of it as just another old quarter, but the truth is, certain examples from this year can be worth a small fortune. This isn't just about pocket change, it's about history, rarity, and hidden treasures that could be sitting in your home right now. So listen very carefully and enjoy every detail, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why one of these coins could change your life. The year 1965 was a turning point in U.S. coinage. Before that year, quarters had been struck in 90% silver for decades. But due to rising silver prices and a nationwide coin shortage, the U.S. Mint made a historic change. It switched from silver to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This decision marked the end of an era and the beginning of modern coinage. The 1965 Washington quarter was the first quarter struck in this new composition, making it historically significant. On the obverse of the coin, you'll find the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, a design that first appeared in 1932 to commemorate Washington's 200th birthday. The reverse features the bold image of a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath, a symbol of strength and peace. At first glance, it may look like any other Washington quarter, but the true story lies in the details. Millions of these coins were struck in 1965, so you might think they're common. And in worn, circulated condition, they usually are. But the value of a coin is never just about the year, it's about the condition, rarity, and unique features. This is where the 1965 quarter gets interesting. The most sought-after examples are those that were struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. During the transition from silver to clad coinage, some silver blanks accidentally made their way into the presses. These rare transitional error coins look similar to regular quarters but weigh slightly more and have a distinctive ring when dropped. To collectors, these are incredibly valuable because they represent a mistake that shouldn't have happened, and mistakes like these are always rare. But silver transitional errors aren't the only valuable 1965 quarters. High-grade examples, those that have never been circulated and still have full mint luster, are extremely scarce. Remember, this was a time when people were not saving brand new clad coins for their collections, they were spending them. Finding a 1965 quarter in gem condition today is like finding a needle in a haystack. Then there are the dramatic minting errors. Some 1965 quarters have double die obverse, where details on Washington's profile or the lettering appear doubled under magnification. Others have off-center strikes, where the design is visibly shifted and part of the blank planchet is exposed. Still others have die cracks, which appear as raised lines across the coin's surface, or strike-through errors, where foreign material was pressed into the coin during minting. Each of these errors makes the coin unique, and collectors will pay a premium for that uniqueness. One of the most famous varieties is the 1965 quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet that also has a minting error, such as an off-center strike. These coins are extremely rare, and when they come to market, they often sell for staggering amounts. The reason is simple: they combine history, rarity, and a story that sparks excitement. Another thing to keep in mind is that 1,965 quarters were minted without a mint mark. All were produced in Philadelphia. This means that any rarity within this year is tied entirely to condition and error, not to a specific mint. That makes it all the more exciting for collectors because any 1965 quarter could, in theory, be valuable if it meets the right conditions. Picture this: you're sorting through an old coin jar or checking the change from a cash purchase. You notice the date, 1965. Most people wouldn't give it a second thought, but you take a closer look. The edges show a faint solid color instead of the clad copper stripe, the weight feels a touch heavier, or maybe you spot doubling on the lettering. That moment could be the start of an incredible discovery, and now, for the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to own a 1965 Washington quarter dollar in pristine, uncirculated, high-grade condition, especially one struck on a 90% silver planchet or with a rare mint error, it could be worth as much as $83,000, yes, $83,000 for a coin that many people overlook as just spare change. So check your quarters carefully, study the details, and remember, sometimes, history and fortune can hide in the most ordinary places. Top 4. We're going to take a close look at a coin that many people see almost every day without realizing its hidden potential, the 1981 United States of America Washington quarter dollar. On the surface, it may look like an ordinary piece of change, but in the world of numismatics, certain examples from this year are worth serious money. By the time we finish, you'll understand why a seemingly common quarter could be worth thousands, and in a few cases, tens of thousands of dollars. So listen closely, pay attention to every detail, and enjoy this journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting. Let's start with the background. The Washington quarter design we see in 1981 was originally created by sculptor John Flanagan and first appeared in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, the design remained relatively unchanged, featuring Washington's profile on the obverse and the bold image of the heraldic eagle on the reverse. By 1981, the coin was part of the copper-nickel-clad era. No silver was used in regular circulation quarters anymore, except for special collector issues and proof sets. However, 1981 was an important year for collectors for several reasons. First, this was one of the final years before the U.S. Mint made subtle changes to the design and production quality in preparation for the 1982 to 1998 modifications. Second, because the Mint was producing coins in huge quantities for circulation, most quarters from 1981 were struck quickly, handled roughly, and immediately entered daily commerce. This means that finding pristine, untouched examples in high mint state grades is surprisingly difficult. Condition is the first factor that drives value. A 1981 Washington quarter that has been circulating for decades will have scratches, wear, and a dull appearance. These coins are worth face value. But an uncirculated example, especially one graded MS-67 or higher by a top grading service, can be extremely rare. The difference between an MS-65 and an MS-67 coin may be nearly invisible to the untrained eye, but in the collector market, that difference can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now let's talk about mint errors and varieties, because this is where the real excitement begins. The 1981 Washington quarter is known to have several valuable error types. Some of the most desirable include double die obverse, where parts of the design, such as the date, motto, or Washington's profile, appear doubled under magnification. Off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted, leaving part of the planchet blank. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin. Clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a mistake in cutting the metal blanks. Strike-through errors, where a foreign object or debris left an impression on the coin's surface during striking. Broad strikes, where the coin is struck without a collar, causing it to spread out and lose its normal rim point. One of the most famous and valuable categories involves transitional or wrong planchet errors. In rare cases, a coin can be struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, such as a nickel or even a foreign coin. These mistakes produce a coin that is technically a Washington quarter but with unusual weight, color, or diameter, something collectors are willing to pay a premium for. It's also worth noting that in 1981, the U.S. Mint produced quarters at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, No Mint Mark; Denver, D Mint Mark; and San Francisco, S Mint Mark for proof coins. Proof coins from San Francisco were struck with extra care for collectors, often with deep mirror-like fields and frosted details. While most proof coins are valuable in pristine condition, rare cases exist where proof coins have unique errors, making them worth far more than standard proof values. Now, why does the 1981 Washington quarter capture so much collector interest? It's the combination of scarcity in high grades, the possibility of dramatic errors, and the fact that these coins are now over 4 decades old, meaning they are crossing into vintage territory. As time passes, pristine examples and rare errors only become harder to find, driving prices higher. Imagine this: you're sorting through a box of old coins inherited from a family member or checking the change from your local store. You see the date, 1981. You take a closer look under good lighting, and suddenly you notice something unusual, maybe a double date, a shifted design, or a coin so clean and lustrous it looks like it just left the mint. In that moment, you could be holding something extraordinary, and now we arrive at the part you've been waiting for, the value. If you happen to own a 1981 United States Washington quarter dollar in pristine, uncirculated, high-grade condition, and especially if it carries a dramatic mint error or rare variety, it could be worth as much as $81,000, yes, $81,000 for a coin you might otherwise spend on a cup of coffee. So keep your eyes open, study your coins carefully, and remember, history, rarity, and a little luck can turn ordinary change into a collector's dream. Top 5. We're taking a close look at a coin that has been in the pockets, purses, and change jars of millions of Americans, the 1979 United States of America Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may seem like a simple, everyday coin. But what if I told you that certain examples from this year are worth a fortune? That's right, and by the time we reach the end of this story, you'll see how a small piece of metal from 1979 could be worth thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. So listen carefully and enjoy this journey, because you might just discover that a treasure has been hiding in plain sight. Let's begin with a little background. The Washington quarter design we see in 1979 traces back to 1932, when it was created by sculptor John Flanagan to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. For decades, this design remained largely unchanged, showing Washington's profile on the obverse and a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. By 1979, the U.S. Mint was producing quarters in a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than silver, a change that began in 1965. Even though 1979 quarters were minted in large quantities at 3 different locations, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D mint mark, and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof coins, the real story for collectors lies in condition and rarity. Circulated quarters from 1979 are usually worth their face value, but pristine, high-grade examples can be exceptionally valuable. In fact, some of the highest-graded coins from this year have set record prices in auctions simply because they survived in flawless condition despite the rough handling. Coins endure, condition, or grade, is everything in coin collecting. A 1979 quarter in mint state 65 is nice, but common. A mint state 67 or 68 is far rarer and can command impressive prices. The difference comes down to tiny details, the sharpness of the strike, the brightness of the luster, and the absence of even the smallest nicks or scratches. Few coins struck for everyday use manage to survive decades without damage, which is why these high-grade survivors are in such demand, but condition is just the beginning. What really excites collectors are minting errors, and 1979 produced some fascinating ones. Let's explore a few. Double die obverse or reverse, caused when the coin's design is impressed more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect on the lettering, date, or details. Off-center strikes, where the design is visibly misaligned, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. The more off-center the strike, the more collectible the coin. Clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing because of an error in cutting the blank discs before striking. Broad strikes, when a coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread wider than normal. Strike-through errors, where debris or foreign material got between the die and the blank, leaving a unique impression. Proof coins from San Francisco also present their own special opportunities for value. These coins were made with extra care for collectors, featuring mirror-like fields and frosted designs. Most proof coins are affordable, but if one has a significant error, such as a missing clad layer, unusual toning, or doubled features, it becomes a rare and highly sought-after item. Some of the most valuable 1979 quarters are those struck on the wrong planchet. There have been reports of quarters from this year struck on planchets meant for nickels, dimes, or even foreign coins. These transitional or wrong planchet errors are dramatic, easy to spot once you know what to look for, and extremely valuable. Collectors love coins like the 1979 quarter because they combine history, artistry, and the thrill of the hunt. This is a coin that was part of everyday life for decades, yet in its rarest forms, it can be a showpiece in a serious numismatic collection. The key is knowing exactly what to look for: pristine condition, unusual features, and rare errors. Imagine this: you're sorting through some old change, maybe from a coin jar that's been sitting untouched for years. You spot a 1979 quarter and decide to take a closer look. The luster catches your eye, it's bright, clean, and nearly flawless. Then you notice something strange in the lettering or the rim. Could it be a double die? Maybe it's off-center. At that moment, you could be holding a coin worth far more than 25 cents, and now, the part you've been waiting for, the value. If you have a 1979 United States Washington quarter dollar in exceptional, uncirculated, high-grade condition, and especially if it features a rare or dramatic minting error, it could be worth as much as $78,000, yes, $78,000 for a coin that might be hiding in your pocket change right now. So check your quarters carefully, handle any special finds with care, and remember, in coin collecting, even the most ordinary year can hold extraordinary treasures. That if you enjoyed this video and love discovering the hidden treasures in everyday coins, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more exciting coin stories, rare finds, and valuable tips. Your support helps us bring you even more incredible coin collecting content, so join our growing community of collectors today.